Hi folks, this is Karim Raouf from IT Visualizer channel. Today we'll continue our lab, Marvel and DC United. We have been discussing in the previous video the following. We have been discussing if you are new to the Azure cloud solution and you are planning to create different Azure virtual networks, virtual machines, virtual VPNs, all of this you need to create them, but you need to know the cost, because everything is created on the Azure cloud. It is created for a cost. Okay, so there is an option called Azure or pricing Azure calculator. This is a website. You can go and then choose the different Azure cloud items. For example, if you want 3 virtual machines, 3 virtual networks, 3 VPNs, you can select them all and then calculate at the end how much it will cost you per month. Okay, so this is a way that you can calculate or plan for the cost of the future Azure cloud items. Okay, this is before you begin creating the Azure cloud items. And there is another way you can know your current cost. For example, you have created your Azure cloud items. For example, you have created your virtual Azure network and virtual Azure virtual machines. We need to know how much they cost you. For example, from the beginning of the month to the end, you can go to something called cost billing Azure report. This is a built-in report in the Azure cloud interface. You can know from it how much the Azure cloud items cost you from, for example, a certain period of time, from the beginning to the month to the end. You can know your current credit, if you have a credit. For example, if you have $1,000, for example, and you have used 100 from them, so he will give you the remaining of your credit, or the remaining of the credit that is remaining for you, and a forecast for your future Azure cloud items cost. So he give you a forecast for your cost, and you give you your current cost. Okay, and the remaining, if you are working with credit limits, will give you the remaining of your credit. Okay, so we have discussed this in the previous video, and then we begin creating a VPN gateway, or Azure VPN gateway. We will use this Azure VPN gateway to connect from my laptop to the Azure virtual network, the Marvel Azure virtual network, through a VPN connection. These VPN connections will have 2 parts, or will have 2 sides. One is from the Azure VPN gateway, and the other side from my VPN client, or from my client side, which is my laptop. Okay, this type of VPN is called point to site connection, because it's from one point to a network. Okay, there is another kind of VPN which is site to site, when you want to have 2 branches, for example, of office to be linked together, 2 branches of your office to be linked together, for example. This is called site to site VPN, which means you have a whole network, you need to make a VPN with another whole network. It's 2 networks that you want to make VPN between them. So anyone in the virtual network, or in the network number 1, can access the network number 2, and anyone in the network number 2 can access the network number 1. But as for the point to site, only my laptop can access the Azure cloud. Okay, only my laptop. Okay, because I have the VPN client installed on it. Okay, so this is point to site and site to site. Okay, so for the VPN connection to work, we need to have something called certification, because the VPN, it's not only a point to site connection or site to site connection. It's not only a normal connection, it is also encrypted. So for this encrypt system to work, you need to have 2 certifications, one from the server side and one from the client side. Okay, so in this or in the previous video, I have created a self-signed root certificate. This is the server side, or this certificate we will install it on the Azure VPN gateway. And then I have created another VPN certificate, another certificate, but for my client side or for my laptop. So I have one certification, I install it on my laptop, and the other certification I have installed it on the Azure VPN gateway. Okay, so the connection can be established, and then at the end I have download a VPN client setup from the Azure cloud interface and install it on my laptop, and then I begin or continued the process of the initialization of the VPN. You can install the VPN client and then you begin working with it, okay, and access your Azure virtual network. Okay, this is a graph I have been discussing in the previous video. This is to have a brief what we have discussed before. This is the laptop and this is the Azure portal. This is a small definition of the VPN, okay, and this is the VPN item, okay. We will not configure anything yet, okay, and then after that we will run a PowerShell script to create the self-signed root certificate. This will be a certification that will import on the Azure Gateway VPN item, okay. So after configuring this certificate, we will export it and get the encryption key and put it in the Azure VPN Gateway item, okay. And then this is the server side and this is my client certificate. I will make it and then install it on my laptop, okay. And then at the end, as I said before, we'll go to the configuration of the gateway to the point to site, and then we will copy the encryption key and put it here and give it a name, okay. And then we will tell him to download the VPN client, okay, after choosing the tunnel type to be IKEv2 and SSTP. This is the type of tunneling or the type of encryption, and this is the encryption of the server or the certificate that contains the encryption of the server side. And then we'll tell him to download the VPN, and then after that it will be a file installed on my laptop. Then I will double click on the VPN connection icon. I have my client certification installed. I will go communicating with the Azure VPN Gateway. It will have its self-signed root certificate. It will compare it with my client side certificate. If they both match, it will make a VPN connection established, okay. And then at the end I can open my remote desktop connection, okay, and then put my private IP address, okay, private IP address of the virtual network, virtual machine, the Azure virtual machine, because the Azure virtual machine will have two IPs. One is a public IP address and the other is a private IP address. We have discussed this before. A private IP address, it is an IP address within a local network, and the public IP address, it is an IP address that goes through the internet, okay. So the private IP address will always work within a local area network, but as for the public IP address, it will work in any place because it works through the internet, okay. The public IP address cannot be duplicated, but as for the private IP address, it could be duplicated. So we will use our desktop connection and we will put the private IP address, and then we will connect. So at the end we are connected to our virtual machine, which is DC Marvel 01 192.168.1.4. this is the virtual machine, the first domain controller after the VPN connection is established. So this is in brief what we have discussed in the previous video. In this video we will discuss another topic, okay. Let me show you also a small graph about what we will discuss today. So here we will make something called Azure virtual template or Azure virtual machine template, okay. What's a template? We will go to the laptop and then to the Azure portal, and then we will create an Azure virtual machine, a new Azure virtual machine. It will be PC Marvel 17. It will take an IP address, and then we will begin installing necessary programs like Chrome, Adobe Reader, VLC, 7-zip, Classic Shell. All of these are necessary programs, okay, that are needed by any user. And then we will begin making some modification to the Windows setting. We will display this PC and control panel icon on desktop. We will increase the virtual RAM. We will install Arabic and English keyboard, and we will change currency and date and time format, okay, to be reflected for the Egypt zone or Cairo zone. So we'll have the currency LE, we will have the date and time for Egypt, and we will have Arabic and English keyboard installed. We will increase the virtual RAM. This is a way we take a part of the local hard disk of the machine and make it to act as a RAM, okay. And this by recommendation of Microsoft should be double the physical RAM or the real RAM, okay. And then we will display this PC and control panel icons on a desktop. So after we do all of this, okay, we will do something. We will go to the virtual machine and we have something called Azure PowerShell. So we will open a PowerShell, Azure PowerShell, that will be connected, or it will be directly connected to the virtual machine. So we can type commands and implement them, and it will affect this virtual machine. So this Azure PowerShell session will be directly affecting this virtual machine. Okay, so through the PowerShell we will begin making a sys prep to this virtual machine, and then we will capture an image with all of the necessary programs installed and the necessary Windows setting changed. We will make a sys prep just to make it or generalize this virtual machine, and then we will capture an image from this virtual machine so we can use it as a template for other newly created Azure virtual machines. So after capture the image, it will be inserted, or we will insert this custom image in the Microsoft Azure Marketplace. I will show you all how this will be done, but in this lab we will begin preparing this virtual machine to be an Azure virtual machine template. Okay, so let's begin. And this video also will have a couple of programs I have encountered while working with the Azure virtual machines, so we will see how we can deal with these problems, how we can solve it. Okay, so let's begin. Here we will access the Azure portal. Here you can see that in the notification is giving me my remaining credits. As I said before, this is a free Azure account. Microsoft gives us $200 as a credit to be spent, or to be spent during 1 month. Okay. Actually, I have after using or after making all of this lab by different items and different Azure cloud items, I have $50 remaining after all of this spending. Okay, so you can make a decent lab with $200. That is for sure. Okay, now we go to the virtual machine, and we will power on the first domain controller and the second domain controller. Here I will show you a problem that appears with me. Okay, this problem I have discovered later, that the problem was that the virtual machine of the domain controller number 1 doesn't have a lot of RAM. Okay, so this made problems, and the hard disk of this virtual machine has been corrupted in some way, so the virtual machine didn't start correctly. I will show you all what is the problem. Here I am restarting, or I am powering on the first virtual machine, which is my first domain controller. And then I will power the second domain controller, second virtual machine that is acting as the second domain controller. So now when we access the first virtual machine, okay, we need here to see it's saying that start VM to view, so this virtual machine is not yet started. Take note of the things that are written in the virtual machine window. Okay, so here I'm trying to access the virtual machine by using the public IP address and using the remote desktop connection, but I failed to connect because the virtual machine is not yet started, although I have already clicked on the start button. But anyway, I will show you all. This was not actually the real problem, because there is another problem that will arise. So here I will not be able to access, because if we go to the if you go here, we can see that it's telling us start VM to view, so it's not yet started. We need to start it. Okay, even though I have done this from the outside. Okay, so I'm making a refresh. It's saying that it is stopped already, it's not yet started. So I will click the start button. So here I am started. Here we can see something it's really weird. Here it says that the computer name not available. Okay, so after a lot of inspection, I have known the cause or the reason. The reason because the operating system itself was corrupted. Okay, he can't see the name of the PC and he can't initialize the operating system. So this was a problem. Okay, I have tried to search what was the cause of this problem or the cause of the corruption of the operating system. It was a problem with the hard disk of the virtual machine, and because I was having a little RAM configuration or RAM, I don't have a lot of RAM for this virtual machine, but anyway it was a problem with the hard disk of this virtual machine. Okay, so to have also a type of backup solution, you need to back up your virtual machines or Azure virtual machines always. There is an option to back up them automatically, but this will cost you. Okay, but I didn't use this option because I need to be very careful about the credit that I have and how I will spend it. Okay, so let's begin. So now we have our first domain controller up and running. Then we will have our second domain controller. Here we can see that directly the name of the PC had appeared, so this tells us that the operating system is up and running and the machine is working fine. So this is the difference between what happened on my first domain controller and what happened with my second domain controller. So if you see that in the computer name there is no name displayed or not available, then you have a problem. The operating system of this virtual machine is not yet initialized, or it's not up and running, or it's up and running and there is a problem. Okay, so I will try now to connect and see if I can connect to this virtual machine. I will have an error saying that the remote connection is not available. So this is another problem. You have some diagnostic tools inside every virtual machine, but anyway, the first symptoms or the first signs you need to take care when you are working with virtual machines to see the computer name field. If it doesn't contain any names, then there is a problem. This is the first thing that you need to take note of. Okay, anyway, this is some readings. It's saying this is the reading of the virtual machine, readings concerning the processor and the RAM. All of this, I can see some activity on the virtual machine, but there is no operating system running, or there is a problem with the operating system. So we will see how we can diagnose, or something called diagnose and solve problems. We will see how this will be done. This is some ready-made tools provided by Microsoft, so we can diagnose any problem concerning the virtual machine. Some questions and answers. You give him a question and he give you an answer with the steps to follow to solve the problem. Okay, so here I have successfully make a remote desktop connection to my second domain controller. So anyway, it will so here we will try again to we can see that there is no computer name. Still there is a problem. We can see here this is the reading of the virtual machine. It's giving us there is some network activity on the network card of this virtual machine, or the first domain controller network card, and there is some processor and RAM, but actually we can't see any operating system running or up. So we need to make further investigation about the problem. Okay, this is the second domain controller. It's working. I can log in, but actually I will not be able to get the backgrounds and lock screens, because all of these backgrounds and lock screens are on the first domain controller, which is not up and running. Here we can see that we have some network activity. We can't see any CPU activity or disk activity, so this is also another sign that there is a problem. here I'm making a refresh, and actually I make a lot of restarts and stopped or powered off and powered on the virtual machine several times, but there is a problem. He will go to the diagnostic and solve problem, and here he will begin inspecting the virtual machine. He says that here we can see there is an issue here. He's saying to us that regarding it's saying that the virtual machine is rebooting as requested by an authorized user or process. It will be back online after the reboot complete. So it's in the phase, or it is not yet, or the operating system is not yet displayed, or it's not up and running. It is in a phase, in the rebooting phase, or in the before the operating system phase. You go in the black screen, if you know, if before going to the operating system the PC goes to something called pre-processing or something. It's like a phase before loading the operating system. It's a black screen and some processes happens in it, and then after that the operating system will begin loading. So it's not yet reached, the virtual machine doesn't or didn't reach the loading process of the operating system. So it's telling me it's in the rebooting phase. Okay, so here we can see that there is a couple of questions you can ask here. For example, I want to tell him that here a lot of cannot connect to my VM. This is the problem. He is saying to me that your virtual machine is rebooting as requested by authorized user or process. It will be back online after the reboot completes. So it's not online. Okay, it's here, it's in a reboot process. It's between the phase of rebooting the PC and loading the operating system. It's something in the middle. It didn't load the operating system and it's still rebooting, or it's still in the phase before loading the operating system. So there is a problem. It didn't reach the loading of the operating system phase. Okay, so here we will ask, or we will have a couple of questions. We will ask, or we will choose a question, and then here we can see that the backup backgrounds and the lock screens is not there. So here we can see that this is the log. If we can get a little bit further, okay, we can go there. Sorry, just a minute. Okay, here we can see that, just a minute. So let's continue, guys. Here we can see that this is something called resource health. This is something like a log file with all of the activity of this virtual machine from the time that I have created it until now. So we can see this, it is recorded by day. So we have all of these events. We can check if there is any problem. We can check the health history. This is something called resource health, and this is the health of the virtual machine. We can see from it the log or the events, everything that it is happening on this virtual machine. It is recorded here, or there is if there is any problem, we can check the health history. This is something related to the health or this is for the health of the, we can say this is something we can return to if there is any errors with this virtual machine. Anyway, I wasn't familiar still with the Azure cloud interface, but also this is one of the tools that you can use to solve problems concerning the virtual machine. Here we will choose, for here I have choose a problem. I cannot connect to the VM, so here I have chose this, and then he will give me some steps. Here he is saying to me, okay, we have investigated and determined that your virtual machine is inaccessible, in an inaccessible state, because we cannot find an operating system. This was the real cause of the problem. Okay, so we need to use the boot diagnostic screenshot. I will show you all. This is a tool that you will use to be able to access the virtual machine before the operating system is loaded, so you can access the virtual machine and have a display of what is going on the virtual machine before the operating system is loaded, something called boot diagnostic screenshot and boot diagnostic mode, or something called serial mode. So you can, through these two tools, through the serial mode and through the boot diagnostic screenshot, you can see what is happening in the virtual machine before the operating system is loaded. So this is another option. And here is giving you some recommended steps. Okay, stop the VM and create a snapshot. He is telling you to stop the virtual machine and take backup, and then to run Azure. This is the PowerShell script. He is asking you to run a PowerShell script and then verify that the operating system that holds the boot sector for the disk is marked as active. He is saying that maybe there is a problem with the operating system or the partition of the operating system. Okay, it's not marked as active, or the partition is not marked as active. So maybe there is a problem with the partition or the hard disk, or specifically the partition that holds the operating system. So it's clearly a problem of a hard disk. Okay, so I didn't recognize this in its moment. Okay, but I begin discovering a lot of diagnostic tools. This is good to know how we can troubleshoot any virtual machine problems, especially it's in Azure. It's not a Hyper-V virtual machine or in VM Workstation Pro or vSphere virtual machine. Okay, anyway, so here this is some recommended steps. So he'll tell you to run some PowerShell scripts to solve the problem. Anyway, so here I will begin, I think this is the step that I will begin creating a new Azure virtual machine, and this will be our master, or there will be the template for any future Azure virtual machine created after that. Okay, so this will be our this virtual machine that we will create will be our Azure virtual machine template. Okay, that we will use to create other virtual machines or other Azure virtual machines. Okay, as we have discussed in the video, or sorry, in the graph. Here we will make the new virtual machine. We will name it, it's PC Marvel 17. Okay, this will be the virtual machine name that will be our Azure virtual machine template. Okay, so we will go to the virtual machine and enter helm add. Anyway, here we are still diagnosing the problem, or diagnosing the problem. I have tried to shut down the virtual machine. I will stop it and restart it, or power it on and off a couple of times, because I didn't recognize that this was a problem with the hard disk, but I have recognized this at the end. Anyway, so here we will create a new virtual machine, and this will be a workstation that will have Windows 10 Pro 1809 version. We will create it on the resource group Marvel, and the virtual machine we will name it PC Marvel 17, and this will be virtual machine will be created on the data center in the region of US East. Okay, and this will contain, or it will have Windows 10 Pro version 1809, and then we will have our local administrator renamed to Raouf, and you will give it a password. Okay, you can change the size or the type of the virtual machine, the RAM and the processor. I need it to be only one processor and 1 GB of RAM. Okay, but it is recommended that you leave what Microsoft recommends for you, because here he have told me that to run Windows 10 Pro 1809, so he's recommended for me to have 2 virtual processors and 8 GB of RAM to have a smooth performance. But here I have choose to have 1 GB of RAM and 1 processor, because during to the cost of this virtual machine. Okay, so here we are making a firewall rule to allow the remote desktop connection. so we can be able to remotely access this virtual machine. And then we will have our hard disk to be premium SSD, and then we will leave everything for the default. We will have our subnet 192.168.1.0, and everything will be left to the default selection. And then tell him next. And then next. If you need extensions to add different programs to the virtual machine, you can add, for example, Microsoft anti-malware or something. This is programs to be added to the virtual machine during the creation of it, but we don't need it anyway. Here we can see that there is a lot of programs. Okay, this all of them can be installed. You can add NVIDIA, you can add Cloud Agent for Semantic. All of these programs will be added to the virtual machine during the creation of it. Okay, so click install, select an extension to install, and then we will tell him next. And then next, and then he will tell me the rate for this virtual machine. It will be less than 1 cent. It's 1 cent and a couple of decimals. Okay, so it's 1 cent per hour, so this is very low rate. And then we tell him create the virtual machine. And then we will go again to our first domain controller and try to see if there is any problem or how we can solve the problem of the first domain controller. Here I have, this is the virtual machine that we have created now that contains Windows 10 version 1809. We have already it created and it's up and running. So we log into the virtual machine and begin installing the Adobe Reader, the Chrome, the 7-zip program, the classic shell. It's a program, classic shell. It is a program to change the startup menu style for the Windows 10 to be like the Windows 7 startup menu style. Okay, I have discussed this before. Anyway, we will begin preparing this virtual machine to be Azure virtual machine template. Okay, this will be our template to create other new Azure virtual machines. Okay, so we'll put different programs, we will make different Windows setting, and then we will sysprep this machine, and then we will capture an image, and this image will be the template that will be implemented on newly created Azure virtual machines. Okay, we will see that in the upcoming video, but this is a preparation. So here, this is the welcome, or this is the privacy setting. I recommend to close them all. This is because this will be a workstation in a production environment, so we need to have our privacy setting protected. So we need to close all of these options, the advertising, the what, so and so. We need to close them all. So here I have, as I said before, I try to solve the problem by powering off and on the first domain controller and see if this will solve the problem, but still there is a problem because it was with the hard disk of the virtual machine. So anyway, this machine, it's already having access to the internet. We will check this now. We will try to browse to Google. And we can see that we can reach it. So now we'll begin preparing ourselves for this virtual machine. We will install the Google Chrome. We'll install the classic shell, and then we will download the classic shell and then install it, and then we will install the Adobe Reader DC with the Chrome installed with it. So we have two. We will install two in one, the Adobe Reader DC with the Chrome, and the classic shell, and then after that we install the 7-zip. This is a program for extracting and compressing files, and the VLC, which is a media player type. It's also for free. Okay, so we can download. This is the classic shell. We will download it, and then we will install it. Okay, we tell him run. Then we go to the adobe.com Adobe website, and then we can download and install the Adobe Reader DC. Then we'll begin side by side installing different applications and changing some Windows settings. Anyway, I have already powered on the first virtual machine, which is my first domain controller, and try to see if I can use the remote desktop connection and access this virtual machine. But still we can see that here the computer name is not available, so still the operating system is not loaded. Okay, so here I think I can just pass it real quickly because it will take a little bit of time. I need to go to the Google. Okay, again, so here we will install the Adobe Reader DC, and then we are installing the classic shell, accept the license agreement, and then we will begin downloading the Adobe Reader DC, and it will have the Chrome browser installed with it. Okay, so here we can see that still the computer name is not available, so we still have a problem with the virtual machine. So here I'm trying to access also, still I'm trying to access it through the desktop, remote desktop connection, and still I didn't succeed because, as I said before, the operating system is down, it is corrupted, and it's not loaded. So there will not be or you can't make a remote desktop connection to a virtual machine that its operating system is not loaded yet. Okay, so anyway, I still have a problem. So here I will go and here actually we need to increase the virtual RAM, as I said before. We need to increase the RAM for this virtual machine. Here we can see that I will install the Adobe Reader and the Google Chrome, okay, all in one package. Its total size is 213 megabyte. Actually here you will see that the download speed, it is great, or it is fast, because I'm working through a virtual machine in US, and this is taking its internet from the US state, so it will be much faster here than in Egypt. Okay, so here we can see that I'm trying to also diagnose the problem again through accessing the diagnose and solve problems. Actually I think I was still trying to guess and search these tools, but actually this was not the case. Okay, here we can see that I have accessed the resource. Okay, and we can see here that it's the health history. We can see that it's giving us what happened to this virtual machine. The same, it's telling us the same error, that it is requested by an authorized user to be whatsoever. Anyway, this is the logs of the virtual machine, but we don't need it anyway. Okay, here we can go past. Okay, here I can say also there is something in the resource health. You can talk to Azure support engineer. You can tell him to why my virtual machine is not running, and tell him to submit this through the resource health. I have done this also, but anyway, this was not the problem. Okay, and then this is I have gone also to my virtual machine, and then I will begin installing the Adobe Reader and Chrome. Here I am hiding the Cortana, okay, because this takes from the RAM, so we will make this as a default. We don't need the Cortana to appear for the users. And then we will make a personalized. We will have this PC and the control panel and the user folders to appear on the desktop. So this will be the default setting for this machine, and it will be implemented to any virtual machine that we created from this template or from this virtual machine, because this virtual machine will be a template, okay. Anyway, there was a problem with my internet, so I tried to I have it solved already, and then I tried again to access the virtual machine. Anyway, this was good because the virtual machine is still up and running, only my connection to it was cut due to my internet connection was down. Anyway, we will continue. I have the Adobe Reader installed. I have the classic shell already installed. I am now installing the Adobe Reader and the Chrome. And then we have already some desktop setting changed. We need this PC and the control panel and the user folders to appear on the desktop. Okay, so here we can see that I have already, and the network, all of these are appearing on the desktop, okay. And then I am now installing the Adobe Reader, okay. So now this is the installation file for the Adobe Reader. Actually, this is only a small file that when I click on it, it will connect to the Adobe Reader or the Adobe servers and begin downloading the real installation files. This is only a small file to connect to the Adobe servers, okay. So now it will begin downloading Adobe Reader DC and the Google Chrome, and after the download of both finish, they will begin installing them. Anyway, so now I'm still investigating the problem with my first domain controller, okay. Here we will go to an option that is called serial connection, okay. This will let you see the virtual machine or display the virtual machine process before, or display what is on the virtual machine before it reaches or loads the operating system, okay. Anyway, so it's nearly complete, or complete the installation of the Adobe Reader, and it's now installing the Google Chrome. And actually I was surprised because this is only done by 1 GB of RAM, so this is very good. Anyway, here I will increase the virtual machine, the virtual RAM for this virtual machine, okay. So this also I need it to be as a default for all of the upcoming or the future Azure created virtual machines. So here I will I can get it from the change setting or advanced setting, and then we will go to the advanced tab, and then we will tell him setting. We will adjust the visual effects to best performance, okay, and then we will change the virtual RAM, okay, on the C drive to be 5 GB to 7 GB. This should be as a recommendation from Microsoft to be more or double the physical RAM, okay, or the real RAM, okay. Anyway, this will increase the performance or will adjust the performance of this machine. So now we are making all of these changes and softwares to be installed to have this virtual machine as a template. So any machine will be created from this template will have the same setting and same programs installed. Okay, so here we are still installing the Adobe Reader, and here now we will go and install the English and Arabic. Okay, now we are making the category view for the icons to be as small icons, and then we will add the Arabic and English keyboard. Okay, here we will do some changes. Here we will change date and time to appear in a certain format. I prefer it to be like day and months and then year. Here we will change the time zone to reflect Cairo. Okay, by the way, all of this can be done through the group policy, but I am just to demonstrate the template terms, or the template let's say the template example. Okay, we are working with this. Here I am just changing, we'll change the currency from LE to dollar to LE, because we work as currency in Egypt, we work with LE. So all of this setting will be copied, or it will be the same in any virtual machine created after that, because this will be our template, and we will create all of the templates, and we will create all of the other virtual machines from this template. Here we can see that I am changing the currency, the time format, and the date format. All of these are some small changes. Okay, so here is the short, or this is the date format. So DD it's for day, MM, Y for Ys. This is a format for the date and the time and the currency. Okay, and we have changed a couple of things, and then we will add the English and Arabic keyboard layout. Here I thought that I have seen in some place something called language, okay, in the control panel, but I didn't see it here. Anyway, so we'll go to the region, okay, and then we will add in the language preferences, we will add the Arabic, okay, display interface. Okay, Arabic Windows display interface. Actually, this is not only the keyboard, but is all but this is also for the Windows interface. We have English Windows interface, and we will have Arabic Windows interface. Okay, so this is not only for the keyboard, it is for the Windows as a whole. Okay, it can be displayed in Arabic and in English. So here we are choosing to install. Here we can just go a little bit further outside. Here we can go there like this. So here we are telling him to add language. Here time and language. Here we're telling him to add language. Okay, here we need to add Arabic and English, and this not only the language as a keyboard, but as a Windows interface to be Arabic and English. Anyway, so here we will choose the Arabic Egypt. Okay, and I think we can go a little bit further again. So here we will install Arabic Egypt, and then we are still with the process of installation of Adobe Reader and Google Chrome. So he is now installed the Windows 10 Arabic Windows 10 Arabic interface, Windows 10 Arabic interface, not Windows 10 Arabic interface and Arabic keyboard. Okay, so we have add both of them. Okay, so now we are preparing, as I said before, this virtual machine to be as a template, and we will take a copy of it. This will be our master image. Okay, to deploy it to several virtual Azure virtual machines. Okay, so the future virtual machines of Azure will be the same like this one. Okay, the one that you are installing now, or the one that you are working with it now. Okay, so now I think we are still working with this machine. I don't know, maybe I did a restart because maybe it was hanging, maybe I don't know, but anyway, as I said before, because I'm giving it a low RAM, so sometimes the performance is degraded. Okay, and it hangs sometime. Okay, so I need to restart it from now and then. So I prefer to leave the recommendation of Microsoft for any virtual machine that contains an operating system. So he has recommended for me for the Windows 10 1809 to have 2 processors and 8 GB of RAM, but as due to cost I have decreased it from 2 processors, virtual processors, to 1 virtual processor and 1 GB of RAM. So if I left it with 2 virtual processors and 8 GB of RAM, the performance will be much higher, and I will not suffer as I'm suffering now. Anyway, so now I will try to access also the virtual machine again. So here what I'm doing here, I am just copying, just a moment. Here I have 2 programs. Okay, I have the 7-zip, this is a program for extracting and compressing files, and this is the VLC, this is the Windows, this is a media player that is for free. So I am copying them from my laptop and putting it on my virtual machine. It's a simple copy and paste process, but it is like you are uploading these files from your laptop to your virtual machine. Okay, so I will copy them. So now he is copying them. You can see he is copying them, but actually he is uploading them to the virtual machine. Okay, so we have succeeded in installing Adobe Reader and Chrome and Classic Shell, and now we will install the 7-zip and VLC, and we did some modification to the Windows setting. We have some icons appearing on the desktop. We have changed some regional setting like the currency and the time and the date, and we have added some languages like Arabic layout and Arabic Windows 10 interface, Windows 10 language interface. Anyway, so now we are preparing this machine to be a template. Anyway, again I'm trying to access my first domain controller, but I didn't succeed. So here we will go to a very important option. Here it is something called Diagnostic setting. First of all, this is boot Diagnostic. From here he will give you a screenshot of the last, or what this virtual machine is now, the phase this virtual machine is standing now in, or what is now appearing on this virtual machine. So here we can see that there is a problem. It's saying that there is a problem with the loading the operating system. The problem is with the file store vsc.sys, and this is the error, and this is related to the storage or related to the hard disk. I have searched a little bit. It says that maybe it concerns a driver or a hard disk or a RAM, but anyway I have tried a lot of things, but this is the error that appears. You can get it from the boot Diagnostic and screenshot. Okay, So this is a way you can see what is happening on your virtual machine, even though you can't have remote access on it due to the operating system is not loaded. You can see this, or you can troubleshoot from this option. And there is another option called serial mode. You can access the machine directly in the command prompt mode. I will show you all this mode, just a minute. I think now we can pass this real quickly. We don't need all of this. So here we will go to the serial port. Okay, you can click on here. Okay, it will get you directly, it will communicate directly with the virtual machine. Now we are in the, okay, just a minute. Now we are in the command prompt. I have just pressed enter, okay, to tell him to load the windows. I can interact now. Here we can see I will press enter to have OS selection, okay, and this is the error. I try to search the internet for this error. It says that there is a couple of reasons, okay, this error should happen. Anyway, I think this was not the issue. So now we will install the 7-zip. This is the program for extracting and compressing files, and the VLC. And by installing the VLC, we have completed the process of preparing this virtual machine to be a template. So we will not do anything anymore. We will wait for the process of sysprepping this virtual machine and then capturing an image of this virtual machine. This will be done in the upcoming video. Anyway, here it's just giving some recommendation what to do. Okay, so here, just a moment, I will show you all a little bit of something. Here we, just a minute. So we will press enter. Okay, I will press enter, and then I will tell him enter again. It will not get me to anywhere. Anyway, we have here something called FN. If you press on it, it will get, it's just like if you press FN, it will like press F8, it will get you to the safe mode and the mode of the Windows. I try to access the safe mode, the last known configuration, okay, all of this I try to access them, but I didn't succeed. All of them didn't get me to anywhere. Still, when I access the safe mode, it gives me the same error. When I try to start Windows normally, it gives me the same error. When I try to access the last known good configuration, the same error. So it's clearly an error, hardware error, maybe a hard disk or a RAM. Okay, so still we can see this is all good options. You can hear from here, you can troubleshoot a lot of problems, and you can still interact with the virtual machine even though you are not interacting with it through using the remote desktop connection. So still you can interact with the virtual machine. I tried a lot of things actually. I tried the last known configuration, the safe mode, the low mode, a lot of things. Still I have the same issue. Here I tried, it says that maybe there is a problem with the RAM. Just a minute. Here I tried, here, just a minute, again we'll show you all what this again. So here I tried to make a Windows memory diagnostic just to make sure that there is no problem with my memory. I'll press enter and then go to Windows memory diagnostic. Okay, and then it will make a diagnostic or a memory test. Okay, so I just make sure that this is not a problem with the memory. Actually it is a problem with the hard disk. This was the final result. Okay, but anyway, just we can go a little bit further. Here I am installing the VLC or the Windows Media. This is a free media player. So here we are still making a memory test. Anyway, we don't need all of this. No, we don't make all of this also. Anyway, so here I'm trying also to go to the safe mode. All of this didn't succeed. Okay, so maybe I don't need all this PowerShell scripts anyway, so all of this is not a problem. Okay, and the corruption anyway, so actually all of this is not a problem. So no, I don't. Okay, anyway, so this is for the video today. Okay, we have been discussing how we are preparing this, or preparing a virtual machine to be as a template. In the upcoming video we will begin sysprep this virtual machine and try to create a new virtual machine from this template. Okay, so until I see you all this video, or I'll see you all the upcoming video, I hope this video was informative for you all, and I would like to thank you all for viewing. Thank you so much.